What's up guys, how's it going? This is Kuro and this is my room. Today we're gonna be talking about a game that I've been looking forward for quite a minute, and I'm really happy to finally be able to give a chance to play the game. And can I just give you my thoughts and feelings about this game? What do I think? Do I think this is a game that you can wait, or do I think this is a game that is definitely a must buy? So let's go ahead and jump right into Ghostwire Tokyo. Now Ghostwire Tokyo is one of those games that it launched very cryptically. It had a trailer that really didn't show much of sort of like what this game was, but we knew it was gonna be some kind of horror, scary Tokyo based game, you know, based on the title and based on what we see and everything. But we really didn't have a chance of what this game could be really. Now, a few months later, almost a year later, we actually saw some gameplay and still really didn't explain anything. And I want to say this game was horribly marketed. I think if they had done a better job marketing this game, it would have sold a lot better. I don't know if Sony just kind of gave up because Microsoft bought Tango Studios along with the rest of Bethesda games and everything. So I'm not particularly sure what happened in the transition between this game being announced as a PlayStation 5 exclusive and all the way up until when it came out now, because I feel like they really wanted to get this game as a PlayStation exclusive for a reason. And I don't know what happened in the marketing. But why is it important? Well, because I don't really feel like this game was showcased in a good light to really kind of entice people to play it. And honestly, even a fan, someone that was kind of curious about this, because I am a fan of Tango Studios. I am a huge fan of the Evil Between franchise. And in fact, here on the channel a long time ago, I streamed those games because I really love those games, and I love Shinji Mikami and what he's done for the horror genre over time. And I was really curious to see where they were going to land on this game. Now, this game has a lot of cool stuff, and some stuff that I still like. It just doesn't feel like it was well developed and everything, so I kind of feel a little bit mixed about this. But let's talk about the game. What is this about? So this is an interesting game as kind of your main protagonist wakes up, you know, and everybody's gone. Everybody is just missing there for reasons that they explained at the very beginning of the story. He was rescued by another ghost who attempted to possess his body. And now kind of shit went down, you know, but there's no humans alive, and there's this mysterious organization of masked people that are trying to kind of do some crazy stuff. But the main thing for him is he's trying to rescue his sister, who somehow still alive, or whatever, maybe her spirit or whatever it is. So he's out for a mission to rescue his sister, and of course the ghost KK, his now unlikely companion, is kind of both with him and the main protagonist to kind of rescue everybody and find out what happened, you know, the mystery of the missing people. Now, although there is no humans, there is a pretty interesting dynamic in this game, because there is spirits. You know, humans disappeared, but there's still the spirits of these humans. And obviously you have yokai, which is Japanese demons. You have evil spirits that you fight, and a bunch of really different variety of enemies and other creatures that you meet, such as the Nekomata, which is the spirit demon cats that sell you items. And honestly, this game is just kind of insane in that aspect, but I think they really do a pretty cool job of kind of showcasing Japanese mythology and more of like the spiritual aspect of Japanese culture. And I think it's really good. It actually does a pretty good job for showcasing that kind of, especially somebody that is a huge fan of like Japanese mythology and everything. I really like what they did for this game, particularly with everything they showcase so far. The combat, which is, I guess, now jumping into the gameplay, is kind of interesting. If you ever play something like, I think the closest thing that I can think of is gonna be the BioShock games, because it does kind of have those hand attacks that you do in first person. I wouldn't really call this a first person shooter, more of like a first person action game, if you will. You know, you can see your hands, so you can do like hand signs and do attacks with that and everything, kind of like Naruto. I guess some people have mentioned that on the comments as well. And as you are fighting these creatures that are coming at you and everything. You can do variety of different attacks, and you can use a bow and arrow that you pick up along the way, and you can get things like talismans and that kind of stuff, which honestly I think is a pretty cool idea. I do want to say, although it does have some pretty interesting foundations for the different elements. You have like the wind attack, the water attack, fire attack, electric talismans, and that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, it doesn't really do anything with it. It doesn't really like go farther beyond that, right? In a game like this, I think that doing like elemental combinations, like maybe like wetting them first and then attacking with an electric talisman, or like attacking with the fire and then using wind to like increase the fire. So, things like that will really make sense. Isn't really a thing here. You can just flip between the different attacks and shoot. It's kind of like changing guns basically, right? So you have your speedy attack, which is the wind, and then your shotgun style attack, which is the water, and then the more explosive one, which will be the fire one. So that kind of how it works and everything. I think it's still pretty good, and I think it's very interesting what they came up with for like a combat style and everything. I just don't think it's really well polished. I think it's lacking a lot of substance to make the game more engaging in that aspect. Like battles can kind of become repetitive, especially because although it is a pretty interesting game, the enemies are maybe like 4 or 5 different enemies. Like that's not a whole lot. Like being honest here, and I just came from playing something like Demon Souls. I'm sorry, not Demon Souls, Elden Ring. There is a big variety of enemies, and although you do see a big repeat of enemies in something like Elden Ring, there's still a lot of variety of different enemies that you fight and everything. Here, literally, there's like 5 or 6 different enemies that you fight all the time, such as like this Slenderman kind of guy. And there's this headless teens that attack this other person that shoots like a fire type of attack, and then much heavier versions of the Slenderman guy, and there's some female guy with a I'm sorry, female woman with like a I don't know, it doesn't really do have a lot of unfortunately there's not much like dynamic to like the different enemies or anything like that, which is fine. I don't think it's a big deal, but I think it does kind of wear down the experience because you are engaging in combat very frequently. If it was just sporadically, I think it will make a little bit less of like oh man, this is the same kind of enemies again, opposed to like, oh yeah, I have to fight the same kind of enemies for the 100th time, so that being said, I think this game is interesting enough to kind of give you a rundown of like what a open world Tokyo with like the spirits will be like and everything. So although it does have a lot of mysticism and horror elements, this game I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror game. I think that it does a pretty interesting job of showcasing those elements, but somebody like Shinji Mikami that has done a lot of like horror survival type of things, you will think that he will do more of something like that. This isn't particularly like it. It's actually more kind of like trying to hit in the horror genre, but kind of also doing something different. And again, although it is cool and it is kind of trying to do its own thing, I don't think it really does that much of a job of like showcasing everything that it could. I feel like there's so much potential in this game, and a lot of it is kind of just not well utilized. And don't get me wrong, although I feel like I've been giving it a lot of negatives, I want to just give you some positives as well, because this game has very, very good atmosphere. The atmosphere, like creepy, just kind of walking around. Everything is just dead. It looks beautiful in a creepy kind of way. The Nekomata, which I love, you can pet dogs and cats and feed them, and you have this quest, which are, honestly, some of them are kind of ridiculous and really funny, and some of them just straight up stupid. Like there was a quest that I did where a guy needed toilet paper. That's right, yeah, the ghost needed toilet paper. He was in the toilet, and I needed to go get toilet paper for this ghost, and that was the stupidest quest I've ever done in my life. Which I guess it was supposed to be kind of funny. I just didn't, I really didn't see it as a funny one at all. But anyway, just I digress. I'm just going on a tangent here. Overall, I think this is a cool game. It is actually incredibly short for a $60 AAA experience, which is this game. It's a very short game, and I'm coming up from other Tango Studios games like the Evil Within series. Like, I'm not even like going like, oh man, which I mean, it will make sense. Games like Resident Evil, which Shinji Mikami also worked on, isn't particularly, I would say, like super long games and everything. But something like this game, I think that because of the nature of being an open world game, I would have thought it would have been a little bit longer and everything. Not to say that I hated it or anything, because I do feel like they did an interesting job as giving you an interesting game, but I do feel like it just lacks something to make it more like a big package and everything. The open world is really filled with like the typical like bunch of quests and a bunch. It's like really busy all the time. You gotta go clear this gates to kind of open more areas, and it's very traditional in the sense of like what an open world is compared to some other games that done very different things and everything. Not that every game has to do like I don't expect every single game to like think outside the box or anything like that, but I think to a game like this, maybe having the open world setting doesn't really help as much as they think it does, because again it feels incredibly shallow when it comes to how long this game is opposed to how much busy work is in the open world. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today, guys. I want to say, if you're interested in a game like this, definitely check it out. I don't think it's bad, although it does feel like I'm complaining about it a lot. I do like a lot of what this game has to offer. I just don't know if this is a $60-$70 experience, because I do believe this is a PS5 only game. I think it's also on PC, but I don't know if it's I think this is a wait for sale kind of game. And don't get me wrong, I really like what I see here and what I play here, and I also a fan of like horror genre. I'll say, yeah, if you're interested in this kind of game, jump into it. But if you can wait like maybe a few months, maybe on sale or something, I'll probably be even a better deal. Or if you wait for it to go like on Xbox Game Pass, something like that, even a better deal. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this, guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.